These paintings that you're about to watch me fail miserably at making were part of a folder named Renaissance Paintings. They were the start of my very high hopes of diving back into realism and traditional art that I am excited about, feel proud of, and they ended up being now part of a video that is all about my failures. While I was painting over the last year and a half, I drastically changed the type of painting I was doing and the level of difficulty or academic necessity that went into the approach. So I didn't stop entirely painting, but over a year and a half, I lost a lot of confidence, muscle memory, understanding when it came to painting. I feel some of that coming back, but I want to show what it's like and how frustrating the beginning stage can be when you're getting back into it. How long does it take for an artist to lose their skills? Today's video is going to be very frustrating to watch. It's the artist equivalent of bashing your head against a wall for 80 hours or so. Today we're going to be going through this many hours worth of footage on 4 different paintings that I made, remade, and maybe never even succeeded at. You're gonna watch me change things in ways that might frustrate you or be a detriment to what the piece used to be. Not all of my decisions make the paintings better, but I'm going to talk about my specific intent with each and why they go through the evolutions that they do, what my frustrations are, things you might be able to relate to, and how I'm hoping they're going to help me in the future. So let's dive in. The first and shortest painting I made was a still life. At this point, I had already decided I wanted to do an academic retraining of myself. That filters into things like how I go about Patreon coaching. I started a still life with a student to make sure I had a grasp for what his academic understanding was. We could do some skill development, and I could also help myself get back in touch with some of those ideas. Verbalizing what I do intuitively when making an artwork is really helpful in reteaching and training myself so I know what things to look at and pay attention to while I'm making a piece. All that being said, just because I can remember some of the academic training doesn't mean I know how to implement all of it fully, and a lot of that information was coming to me as I went along the process and didn't feel intuitive right away. I ended up finding that what I got in the end was quite a bit more flat than what I hoped for. It's not that it's bad, there are things that I like about it, I think it's good in many ways, but something you really run into when you're getting back into art that you might not anticipate is encountering a disparity between what you expect you'll be able to make and what you're actually able to make. And while this was probably the more successful or easy of the paintings I make throughout this video, it's no exception to that same shortcoming I felt with other paintings where I could feel I had slipped. And I could feel that I was also dusting off skills that were somewhere in there, but felt a little distant and rusty. Now, sometimes I'm going to give you opposing advice on this channel. Doesn't mean that either is less true. Sometimes it does. There is value in multiple different components of art. I see the value in the academic training and structure. Obviously, it's a priority of mine right now. I also see a deep value in play and creativity and love for the medium, not burning yourself out. The reason I want to focus on academics right now is because I want my creative play to not be limited by my academic abilities, so that the resulting art I make can communicate the ideas in my head and not just what I'm limited to making based on my skill level. The second painting I made was this portrait. This has taken place over months. There were definitely times where it was better than others. Foundationally, I think I started on a weak footing, and it made it hard for me to ever like this image because I didn't like my original reference. I thought it was a little cheesy and smiley. I had a hard time compensating for that. It didn't feel lifelike. It felt airbrushed. Some parts of that are stylistically how I approach portraiture, but I want it to be an intentional decision. I don't want it to be an accident. Sometimes this painting was better, and then I drastically made it worse. right now my focus is not on producing artwork that I can sell or present as a final product. It's on making stuff that's teaching me, and this piece taught me. I tried a lot with abstracting the figure, giving it a contemporary feeling, making it more playful, with a base in realism still, and I never found the footing that I wanted there. But that's okay. Something really important to this whole experience that I want to impress on you as a viewer is a place to value on the experience of art making, an investment in your future, and the ability you have to enjoy making art even when it doesn't come out in an amazing product. Some of that has to do with value realignment, where you place your metrics for success in making artwork, and I can enjoy making paintings that I'm failing at over and over again right now because I know it's with purpose. I know failures come when you're pushing yourself to be better and you're not just doing things you know you can succeed at. I make these works and I see a very strong potential that is driving and motivating me towards an end goal. But I also want to be clear, art is not only valuable for the sake of making something good. I think that humans create intrinsically, and I think that needs to be valued as its own thing. You don't have to be great at being an artist. You don't need to have some kind of udal to making art. Creating is a base desire I think a lot of people have, and you're allowed to do that however you want, however you find personal satisfaction in. This is just what I want. And sometimes what I want changes. We have flexing relationships with art. It's okay to have flexing relationships with art. You have to take care of what you need to take care of in your life when you need to take care of it, and only you know what your value system is. But don't feel like because you've gotten out of the game that the game's over. You can always go back. The next two paintings I want to talk about kind of work in conjunction with each other. I started off the larger version of this painting, and then I ran into problems, and I took point from some artists that I highly respect and admire who I've seen do this before. Sometimes artists will make two versions of the same painting. One is a larger standalone product, and the other is a study they do to flesh out problems or ideas or techniques in a smaller version that they can then implement and translate into the larger version. So I started the larger painting, got really frustrated, failed a lot, and then I went to the smaller one. On the smaller one, I wanted to experiment with lighting, saturation, contrast choices. I took my reference photo back into Photoshop and I made alterations with the colors, and I figured, let's try this with a slightly different format and see if I can flush out mistakes I'm making in the larger one on a smaller scale. Little did I know the small painting would end up being really frustrating as well. I worked on this over and over again, and I don't feel like I settled in a place where I found perfect success, but I feel satisfied with what I learned from it and ready to move on to a new painting. After I worked on that painting, I went back to the larger one and tried to implement some of the ideas, and I still feel frustrated. So, yesterday I went on Twitter, I posted my reference photo, and I posted a picture of the painting as it was, and I asked for feedback and critique. And people did an incredible job. Someone actually tweeted in response, but I go to your channel to learn, like, how am I supposed to give you feedback? I can learn from you guys. I know for a fact that there are things you can see that I am blind to when I've been staring at the same painting for hours on end. And I don't have all the knowledge in all the areas that the people who follow me do. It helps to get feedback, and it helps to get the right kind of feedback. Sometimes people will be overly critical and it's not actually constructive, and sometimes people will give you really thought out things you should be implementing and thinking about in your painting. By getting back into painting, I feel like I've reconnected with my artist soul, and I'm getting insights that I wasn't getting while I was sort of out of the game. And so I've been tweeting about it a lot, and I wanted to read you a tweet that directly correlates with this painting. You can't be afraid to destroy things in a painting that aren't working. Even if elements independently look nice, it all has to work together or it's no good. I always have to remind myself, don't create an impasse. Just let go and abandon treating your piece too preciously. You could be sitting staring at a painting thinking, you know it's wrong, but you've worked so hard to finally craft details in certain areas that to push those back or destroy them in order to take care of the larger composition feels intimidating and counterproductive. but sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to destroy parts of your painting. If you focus too much on highly rendering a small area of your painting and don't take into consideration the larger composition, you could end up making it look eternally wonky and weird and never being able to fix it or get it to the level you want it to be. On this painting, I had created very inconsistent light sources. There was a warmth coming from the sky and the sun hitting the cloud that did not consistently affect the whole image, even though the whole image takes place at the same time of day in the same lighting. So I really destroyed it. At this point, it's not finished. It doesn't look as finished as it did, but it also is doing better in some areas than it was initially. And I think the lesson is the important takeaway for me, even if the painting doesn't look perfect. And I don't have a final product to show you. It's just not done. But as someone who values being a working artist and values process, I still think it's valuable to share, and I want to be better about not only presenting my good work, but also presenting what I'm learning and what pieces are teaching me and some of the process shots. If you feel like you've been out of the game for a while and you're frustrated about skills lost and nervous about confronting the ways you've slipped as an artist, I just want to drill back into your head solidarity. For one, you are not alone. I am right here with you. It happens to artists at tons of stages. You are allowed to have a flexing relationship with art, and you don't need to be ashamed or embarrassed because you need to practice or do things that you're not already skilled at. If you stay in a safe zone and only do what you know you can do, you'll never get better. I also want to bring joy back to art. It shouldn't be this overly daunting thing. Don't treat your studio, workplace, sketchbook as a gallery. Take pressure off those spaces. They are not where you present your final work. Take the pressure off of your studio space or your sketchbook to be this perfect image that you have to hide or tear pages out of. Make sure that you're only showing people your best things. It will build back in joy for your artwork. I'm a working artist again. I don't know why that made me feel weird to say. We're gonna do it together. So if you're watching this, I hope you feel motivated. I hope you feel motivated by my mistakes, and I hope you feel solidarity because of that. Yeah, I hope to see you guys in new videos. This channel is very much going to be directed at reintegrating art, education, entertainment, and I'm continually seeking to improve and get feedback. So if you have some, leave it for me. I appreciate the culture of this community. Make sure you're subscribed. Check out my social media if you feel like it can help motivate you. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next week.